everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to review The Last of Us episodes 1 and 2, the HBO show Last of Us. Now, this has been a show that's been in the works for a little bit now. I perked up when I heard that the Chernobyl people, and if you've never seen HBO's Chernobyl, you should check that out as well. I believe the same creative team behind that are working on this, and you can kind of see it in it if you've ever seen Chernobyl from the visual standpoint, which made sense. Chernobyl was about, you know, the subject matter of Chernobyl with the whole plant blowing up kind of thing, and there was a vibe to Chernobyl that really fit The Last of Us. Now, this is a game that I have not played yet. I've played bits and pieces. I've played the beginning of the game. As some of you know, I recently got a PS5. I haven't had an Xbox. I mean, I've had an Xbox for the better part of the last 2 generations. I've had nothing but the Xbox. So I haven't gotten a chance to play The Last of Us, but The Last of Us has always been one of the bucket list games for me. It's one of the most iconic games that PlayStation has made. Potentially one of the greatest games of all time, especially from a storytelling perspective. And it's a game that's very iconic. At this point, you can consider it iconic. And like I said, I haven't gotten around to actually playing the game yet. I've been playing other things. But once the show was announced and the closer the show got, like, I feel like I don't even know if I want to play the game now because I'm watching the show. So I feel like I want to wait till the end of the season before I start playing the game, because now I'm like, well, I don't want to get... Well, I mean, I've had a couple things spoiled for me. Obviously, if you've been watching, if you've played video games like I have and you're in that world and you've in that realm, you've had a lot of the things. You've either played the game or you've had a lot of the game spoiled for you. But The Last of Us is a very iconic game, and like, it's in the same ballpark as like Uncharted. To PlayStation, it's in the same ballpark as Uncharted in terms of iconic, in terms of you identify this game with the console. Yeah, The Last of Us is there, and thankfully, this live action interpretation was much more faithful and a hell of a lot better than the Uncharted interpretation, because these 2 episodes, first of all, the first episode plays almost like the video game. Exactly. Particularly that intro sequence. The intro sequence is a damn near faithful reincarnation. I mean, retelling of the intro. Right down to the clothes that Joel's wearing, right down to the clothes that his daughter's wearing, right down to the plane crashing and the shooting and like all of it. It's so fucking faithful. And the show, in the one word, would be faithful. It is faithful to the tone of the games. It is faithful to the visual stylings of the games. It is faithful to the characters of the games in terms of their demeanor. Joel and Ellie act exactly how they act in the game. I'm not sure if I didn't notice this when I was playing the intro, because really I only got through the intro and a little bit of the game. I'm not sure if I noticed it, but they did such an amazing job of setting up future events in terms of like Joel, played by Pedro Pascal. First of all, Pedro Pascal playing Joel is great. He's great. He does an amazing job of capturing Joel, like, it's particularly in that intro sequence in the first episode, you can feel that, like, there's more to Joel than meets the eye. Now, we know that if you play the game and whatnot, there's more to him than meets the eye. And like, throughout the course of that intro, it's like the intro is like 30 minutes, because the first episode is like an hour and 30 minutes. And 30 minutes of the first episode is dedicated to, like, the intro. And I love shit like that. First of all, I'm a fan of zombie movies. Particularly, I'm a fan of zombie movies that start from the beginning. Like, sure, I like a zombie movie that things have been happening for a while, but one of my favorite things about The Walking Dead was the beginning. And what was it? It was the other second Walking Dead show. That's the thing I loved about it, is the beginning, is when no one knows what the fuck is happening and shit's just happening and it's just like, what the fuck? And it's like, scramble, dash. I love that shit because it's so thrilling. It's so exuberant. It's just like, because you can kind of put yourself in those shoes, right? Of like, when the zombie apocalypse is going down, like, sure, after a year or two, things not calm down, but people kind of figure that, all right, this is how things are. We'll have to figure out how to operate. We'll figure out how to operate under these circumstances now. But when the shit's going down, like, there was a show, Black Summer, did an amazing job with that. up top with the shit. When the shit's going down, it's like, oh my god, what do we do? And I love that. It was very cool. And this show did a great job of doing that too with that intro. And it was great in the video game. It's even cool. It might be even cooler live action. But Pedro Pascal does an amazing job as Joel. Pedro Pascal has just showing the layers of him. Because I have seen this man play so many different characters now. I've seen him in Narcos. I've seen him play Mando, the Mandalorian. I've seen him in that Nicolas Cage movie playing Javi, playing this ridiculous, over-the-top, fun character, Javi. And now I see him in this being a more serious character, playing Joel. Pedro Pascal is like, he's having a moment right now. He's having a moment. And he's doing this whole, and he's America's dad at this moment because he's a dad. He's a surrogate dad on this show. He's a surrogate dad on The Mandalorian. Like, Pedro Pascal is riding a fucking wave right now. I love that guy. He might be one of my favorite. He is one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. He might currently be my favorite actor in Hollywood because he is just working it, and everything I see this brother in, he is great, and he does a variety of things. That's the thing. I love actors who want to do different shit, and he does a lot of shit. And I appreciate that about him. I really do. It was one of those things when he was the first announced to play Joel, like, a lot of people kind of rolled their eyes because, like, it's not because he was a bad actor, it's because he's doing so many other things. But shit, man, if he can deliver performances like this and everything he's in, dude, like, I don't know, man, Pedro, all he needs is one big breakout dramatic performance to get him an Oscar or something to really, like, let people recognize the talent that this guy is, because Pedro Pascal is on one right now. That dude is on one. And the girl that got to play Ellie, she's doing a great job. I've seen her before, but like, she was much younger when I saw her. I don't remember her name, but she's doing a really good job as Ellie. She's believable. She comes off just like Ellie. Now, granted, it is a bit hard for me to see her as Ellie for sometimes because, as a lot of gamers know, Ellie was designed after Ellen Page. If you know the actress Ellen Page. But some weird lawsuit thing happened and whatnot, and they ended up, like, not getting Ellie. Like, Ellen Page was supposed to play Ellie, I think, and, like, it was some weird shit that happened. But that's why Ellie in The Last of Us kind of looks like Ellen Page. So it is a bit hard for me not to, like, in my brain, I see her as Ellen Page. So it is a bit, well, she's not even Ellen Page. She thinks she's Elliot Page now, but whatever. In my brain, it's hard for me to not see that. But I digress. The show, like I say, like, not to get into any spoilers but the show does a great job of setting up the apocalyptic event, setting up how it spread it, and even like the cold opening of the first episode with the doctors talking about fungus and how fungus can take over. And this is a factual thing. Some funguses take over the brains of insects and operate their bodies and, like, make them do shit. That's a true statement. Now, obviously, nothing like that will ever happen to human beings. Probably. No, you know, but like, that's cool. You know what I mean? When you have when you're gonna make a movie about an apocalypse or about a plague, about a zombie plague, an outbreak like that, it's nice to base it in something that sounds realistic. It sounds realistic, right? Like the rage virus in was it 28 Days Later? The rage virus. It sounds real, right? Just like a hyped up version of rabies. Like, it sounds like something that's plausible. And that's all you need, really, when you're doing a zombie apocalypse or you're doing an apocalypse at all. It's like, it doesn't have to be completely bulletproof. It just has to sound plausible. And The Last of Us Outbreak sounds plausible. It doesn't matter if it is or not. It sounds like it is. And so I love that cold open, and that was cool too. But once you get into the first episode, because like I said, the first episode, the first 30 minutes of it, like the first 30 to 35 minutes of it is that intro. The rest of the episode is just setting up this world, this post-apocalyptic world. It's been like 20 years later, and, you know, you see a Joel who's a lot more hardened, who's a lot more, you know, like, not cruel, but just cold. And because the world seems a lot more cold and, like, callous and whatnot, and broken buildings. Like, they did a great job. Like, the set designers did such a great job of really getting that across. And the second episode really picks up when Joel meets Ellie, and him and Tess are trying to escort her. As we know, The Last of Us really is a big escort mission. The first game is really a massive escort mission. So the escort mission is starting here and now. Like I say, very faithful. The visual stylings, the buildings, and the destruction, and the styling of the creatures look as spot on, even down to the sound design of the noises that the creatures make. All of it is just straight up out of the video game. All of it. And like I say, dude, I can't really say too much without spoiling anything for the people who haven't played the video game, but just so the people who have, they've done some great work with it. And Pedro Pascal and the actress playing Ellie have instant chemistry. You really believe them. You can already see the dynamic and the future dynamics that will happen between the two. And I'm curious of how far they're going to go, because there's only 2 games. So are they going to break the first game up into multiple seasons? Are they going to do the first game in this one season? Because as anyone who knows the second game is that there's a time jump. Ellie's a lot older in that. So are they going to recast and have Ellie be older when they come out with the second season to do the second game? Or I'm curious about that. Those are the bits I don't know. But as the show goes, this is an ace show. This is by far the best video game adaptation ever made. I put it right head and shoulders with, I put it right neck and neck with Castlevania, even though Castlevania is a bit more different. Like other than Castlevania and like Arcane, which are animated, this show is obvious. Like it's leagues above The Witcher. I can tell you that right now. It is leagues above The Witcher. And when you hear like things like God of War gonna get made and all these other video games, like people trying to make these other video games, I kind of like in my brain I'm like, okay, like let's see. But when you can do this show should be an example. This show should be the example of how to do a video game live action adaptation. And maybe some of these adaptations need to be long form. They need to have a big budget and be done on HBO or whatnot. Though I will say The Last of Us does lend itself better than some of these other video games to be made into a live action. Because at the end of the day, it's still just an apocalyptic virus movie, which we have tons of those. So it's a little easier to make The Last of Us look right than certain other games like a God of War. I'm not even sure how they're gonna do God of War. Like, how do you even do that ridiculousness? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Apparently Amazon's gonna take a crack at it. But this Last of Us episodes 1 and 2 get a 10 out of 10. Perfecto. HBO is the king of the prestige television. They're still the king of the prestige television, and they're still doing it to this day. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.